Welcome to RC Truth Media. Today we'll be discussing the radical plan to split California into three. Okay, I just seen this. Now this is from the LA Times. And now this is all over the news, okay? Many different stations, newspapers are talking about this. There's a radical plan to split California into three states, earns a spot on November ballot. Let's talk about this. California's 168-year run as a single entity, hugging the continent's edge for hundreds of miles and sprawling east across mountains and desert, could come to an end next year, as a controversial plan to split the Golden State into three new jurisdictions qualified Tuesday for the November 6th ballot. If a majority of voters who cast ballots agree, a long and contentious process would begin for three separate states to take the place of California, with one primarily centered around Los Angeles and the other two diving up the counties to the north and south. Completion of the radical plan, far from certain, given its many hurdles at judicial, state, and federal levels, would make history. It would be the first division of an existing U.S. state since the creation of West Virginia in 1863. Three states will get us better infrastructure, better education, and lower taxes, Tim Draper, the Silicon Valley venturist, said in an email to the Times last summer when he formally submitted the proposal. States will be more accountable to us and can cooperate and compete for citizens. They can compete for citizens. Okay, so, what is that supposed to mean? I guess that would mean they could not just compete for citizens, they can compete for their economy as well. And if there was more competition in their economy in the same state, basically like it would be better to live here, it would be better to work over here. These people are going to want the best for those places. And in turn, it could make our state a lot better, you know. In the initiative's introductory passage, Draper argues that vast parts of California are poorly served by a representative government dominated by a large number of elected representatives from a small part of our state, both geographically and economically. The proposal aims to invoke Article 4, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution, the provision guiding how an existing state can be divided into new states. Draper's plan calls for three new entities: Northern California, California, and Southern California, which would roughly divide the population of the existing state into thirds. Northern California would consist of 40 counties stretching from Oregon south to Santa Cruz County, then east to Merced and Mariposa counties. Southern California would begin with Madera County in the Central Valley and then wind its way along the existing state's eastern and southern spine, comprising 12 counties and ultimately curving up the Pacific coast to grab San Diego and Orange counties. If California's vote to split the state, here's what would happen. There's also a rich history of wanting to slice up California or split it off from America and just become its own country. Under the long shot proposal, Los Angeles County would anchor the 6 counties that retained the name California, a state that would extend northward along the coast to Monterey County. Draper's campaign website argues the three states would have reasonably similar household incomes and enough industries to produce their own viable economies. It was that issue, economic sustainability, that helped fell two of Draper's previous efforts in 2012 and 2014 to create 6 California states. Yeah, he wanted to do that back in 2012 and 14 to make California divided into 6 separate states. That's just a little bit too much. Critics said some of the more rural regions would suffer from extraordinary rates of poverty as individual states, while coastal communities would flourish in new, smaller states where the lion's share of California tax revenue is generated. Yeah, I see that happening there. Ultimately, though, it was a fumble by Draper's political team that doomed the 6 state effort. The campaign collected hundreds of thousands of signatures in 2014 on the initiative, only to see too many of them invalidated by election officials. Last September, Draper submitted the modified version that he calls Cal 3. On Tuesday, elections officials said a sample of the signature projects, more than 402,468 of them, are valid, more than enough to be inclined on a November ballot that could see as many as 16 propositions by the deadline for certification later this month. The cost of Draper's 2018 effort is still unclear. The history of California, admitted to the Union on September 9, 1850, has been marked by more than 200 attempts to either reconfigure its boundaries, split into pieces, or even have the state succeed and become an independent country. The last three-state proposal, crafted by Butte County legislator, failed in the state capitol in 1993. So this was just tried, um, what is that, 25 years ago, you know. A publicized effort by activists to have California secede from the United States, branded the Colexit proposals, continues to be bandied out for the ballot in 2020. Okay, so there's another ballot in 2020 that's asking for California to be separate from the United States. This is something that's been going on for a long time, and I've been feeling for a while that California, there's something that's going to go on with California. Whether it be getting pummeled by the ocean, getting sucked up by the ocean, and getting underwater because of the changes in our Earth, or I was thinking something like this: get split up and break off from the United States and become our own country. But I wasn't actually thinking of splitting the state up in three. But something like that might happen as well. There's definitely something going on in California. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look. It says nothing about Draper's historic democration of democracy would be easy. Were voters to approve his ballot measure, the effort would need the blessing of both House of the California legislature, lawmakers who in a sense would be asked to abandon their post. Draper's proposal says the initiative, acting under California's constitutional power of voters to write their own laws, would serve as legislative consent. It is almost certain that interpretation would end up in court. So yeah, this is a long, far out shot. There's a lot of steps that has to be done in order to get this done. But I do feel like something important is going to be happening in California. It says from there, the plan would need congressional approval. Here too, politics would presumably play a major role. Where California now has 2 seats in the 100-person U.S. Senate, the 3 states would have 6 seats in a 104-member chamber. Okay, so that would definitely play more role in the Senate. California would, which I think it should, since how big we are. That would dilute the power of the other states and increase the power of what used to be a single state if its 6 senators banded together on various issues. Presidential politics also could doom the proposal once it reached Washington. A law professor who has written extensively about Draper's plans pointed out last fall that the shift in California's votes in the Electoral College, which had been awarded for a quarter century to Democratic nominees, would be split between 3 states, and one of those states, based on past election results, could be won by a Republican. That's right. Central Valley is mostly Republicans. Okay, and there's a lot of Republicans in Northern California as well. It says right here, and in Orange County, I do believe there's some Republicans out there as well. And you're gonna have, but a lot of California is Democratic. That is for sure. If you'd like to go ahead and read the rest of this, you can. I'm going to go ahead and show you the last part of this here. One thing I found cool about Draper, the one who's putting this in for legislation, is I'll go ahead. He likes Bitcoin. He likes cryptocurrencies. Says Draper's fascination with splitting California into separate states has been his only real foray in state politics. Though he served briefly on the State Board of Education for a year in 1998, the 60-year-old entrepreneur, who is registered as an unaffiliated voter, often is identified as an early adopter of viral marketing in the 90s and was an early investor in technology companies like Skype and Hotmail. Recently, Draper has been an outspoken advocate for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. At an Amsterdam technology conference in April, the investors' praise of Bitcoin included some of the same messages he's used in support of splitting California into multiple pieces, namely, that residents will be free to move to whichever version of the state they think is governed best. The government will have to compete for us now, Draper told the crowd, because if we don't like one, we can now bust out. I think that's a good idea. That's a really good idea because you could stay in California, but you could go to one that better suits your needs. You know, um, that's just I don't know if it'll happen, but I like the idea. Go ahead and leave me your comments and what you think about this idea in my comment section. What do you think the problems are with it? What do you think needs to be done? Thanks for coming to my channel. I hope you got something out of the video today. You can like and subscribe, and I'll go leave a link below. You can do that. I will have some more truth videos coming out real soon. Have a great day.